Good afternoon. Thank you so very much for allowing me to come and visit with FAIR this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, we come to you because there's some significant, I shouldn't say significant, some bad legislation that's going through the process right now. Three pieces of legislation that have been filed in the Florida House and the Florida Senate that would have economic disaster to our state. Most importantly, economic disaster to every homeowner, every business leader, every condominium owner, every manufactured homeowner throughout the state, not in just one particular part of the state, but throughout. The insurance industry of the state saw an election this past November and thought that they would be able to come down hard on the consumers. Through some good efforts of not only the members of the Senate, but my good friend Frank Artilles here from the Florida House, we've been able to slow this legislation down. We only have about 4 days left in the Florida House and the Florida Senate before we convene, before we recess and adjourn on Friday. But ladies and gentlemen, it is important that we don't give up, that we reach out to our legislator, our member of the Florida House, our member of the Florida Senate, let them know that Senate Bill 408, Senate Bill 1714, and Senate Bill 1390 would be detrimental to every homeowner, every ratepayer in the state of Florida, every business person in the state of Florida. There's one bill that would mandate that its Citizens Insurance raise their rates by 25%. Think about it, 25% each year. That's a mandate. That means that that's a tax. When government mandates an increase in anything, they're mandating a tax on the people of the state of Florida. That is one bill. There's another bill that would allow the private insurance industry to raise their rates up to 20% a year without having to go through any regulation, without having to go before the Office of Insurance Regulation and get approval. They would be able to raise rates without a public hearing on their consumers. And then there's a final bill here, Senate Bill 408, that would truly affect the people throughout the state in many ways. But most importantly, it would do away with forcing the private insurance companies to provide sinkhole coverage. Now think about it, Florida, where we've seen so many legitimate sinkholes throughout the state, the private insurance companies want to have the option of offering it or not. And as I said in committee, think about it, that if you told the insurance industry of the state they no longer had to offer sinkhole coverage, well, guess what? They won't offer it. These three pieces of legislation are bad legislation. They're the three of the most anti-consumer bills I have ever seen in my 17 years as a state legislator. And with that, I would like to introduce Representative Frank Artilles, who's a great friend, but also a great consumer advocate for the ratepayers of this state. Representative.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, and thank you very much, Senator. I do appreciate it. As a freshman legislator, I'm honored to be on this stage with Senator Fasano, who is the #1 consumer advocate in the Senate, and I want to thank you for that. Florida's insurance industry plays a vital role in our state, providing citizens monetary protection and peace of mind. Our unique environmental changes warrant the necessity of insurance regulation unique to the rest of the nation. But some in the insurance industry have taken advantage of the situation in order to exploit Florida citizens in the name of exorbitant profits. While it is necessary to recognize the utility and importance of insurance providers, we should not let strong desire to protect our homes and families blind us to unscrupulous business practices and some insurers in the state are currently doing. Our fear of natural catastrophe has forested a corporate climate that has allowed industry to go wild. Glaring lack of regulation has allowed companies to legally but deceptively move funds out of the state and country, enabling companies to drastically underreport their profits. Florida needs common sense regulation that will keep insurers honest and keep insurance dollars in Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, this is very simple. What we have today is that we have the pendulum swinging so far that it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars to our citizenry. In other words, each homeowner, not only homeowner as well as commercial, is going to pay exorbitant prices for 1/10 of the coverage. It's watered down policies, watered down coverage. And in a year that we want to deregulate and open up the state to businesses, what we're actually doing is that we're increasing the size of citizens by passing this regulation, SB 408. So you know, this is very tongue-in-cheek, being that we are elected officials, but there's a difference between a public servant and a politician. We're public servants, and we are going to call it how we see it. And for that, I thank you very much for giving me your time. And again, Senator Fasano, thank you very much for doing what you do. And again, I would like to thank Paul Handerhand, and please call your legislators. There's 4 days left in session, and this is when everything gets passed if you do not stay vigilant. And that's what we need the public to do. Email your legislators. Tell them that SB 408 is bad for our state. I do appreciate your time. Thank you, and God bless.
I'd like to thank Senator Fasano and Representative Artiles for fighting for fair insurance legislation. I'd like to also take this opportunity to bring up John Thompson. John had an actual insurance claim with his insurance company. He's had multiple claims when it's come to sinkhole claims as well as hurricane claims, and I'd like him to be able to share his story today.
Thank you very much. And Senator Fasano, thank you for your continued fight. Representative Artiles, thank you for being here today. I am a homeowner from Hernando County. I am not a lobbyist. I am not an attorney. I'm not a public adjuster. I am up here. I have been in Tallahassee since January, fighting these very bad pieces of legislation. And if anything here, I know time is of the essence for our friends here that need to get back to business. I have been up here fighting since day one. Please, with the last 3-4 days left in session, you do need to contact your legislators. It's very important. I've learned a great deal thanks to Senator Fasano through this legislative process. These bills are bad news for Florida. They are a drastic overcorrection. There's got to be some common sense brought to Tallahassee at some point in time. And if anything, I'm fearful homeowners with legitimate sinkhole claims are going to suffer. Removing coverage is not going to solve the problem. Senate Bill 408 specifically strips away the requirement that homeowners be offered sinkhole coverage. And as Representative Artiles mentioned, it drives homeowners into citizens. That's not common sense. This bill is going to have unintended consequences throughout the whole state of Florida, not only in my area where already double-digit unemployment, people are already walking away from their home. Changes need to be made if changes are going to be reasonable. Right now, there's nothing good but for the insurance companies. And I'll leave you with this. I started my journey back in January again with this situation. And the problem that I see, except for the two gentlemen standing here to my left, the problem is that the very people who are supposed to be looking out for the public's best interest in this matter are truthfully, and I hate to put it this way, they're in bed with the insurance company. They penned this legislation. They did it while the average everyday citizen, as we see out here, went about their business and went about the business of work and behind closed doors. And I've tried to make this this legislation transparent. I've been shut out, shut down, and I'm not going away. I'm here till the end. I hope that everyone that can hear this will, in fact, call their legislator. SB 408 is bad, as is HB 803. With that, I'd like to thank you for having me today. I've been through 4 years of nightmare with insurance companies, and I want to see this. I want to see this put to bed and put to rest. Senator Fasano and Representative, thank you very much.
Thank you, John, for sharing your story with us. We have two other ladies that I'd like to bring to the podium. They're with an organization called FIRM. It's the Fair Insurance Rates of Monroe. Would you ladies mind coming up and telling us a little bit about your group?
Thank you, Paul, for the opportunity. My name is Heather Carruthers. I'm the president of Fair Insurance Rates in Monroe, and with me is Annalise Mannix, who's our executive director. I also have the privilege of being the mayor of Monroe County, better known as the Florida Keys. We have been fighting for insurance reform for over 5 years, and I'm thrilled to say that Senator Fasano has been there with consumers the entire way. I can't really add too much to what has been said, except that the legislation that is on the table this year will be devastating to the economy of Florida. First, it removes the ability for many people to even get insurance coverage. And if you have a mortgage, your property must be insured for both windstorm, sinkhole, etc. If you can't get that insurance, then you're not going to be able to get a mortgage. And if you have a mortgage and you lose that insurance, it's going to be force-placed, and force-placed policies are extremely expensive, and I would venture to guess that they would push our foreclosure crisis further down. And even if we can't get insurance, 25% increases year after year. In 3 years, your insurance rates will double. That's unconscionable. It's a tax. It's a tax on the people of the state of Florida who have no other choice than to use citizens' property insurance. So again, I urge you to contact your legislators on SB 1714, SB 408, and SB 1330, and tell them do not let these pieces of legislation pass, because they will destroy the just beginning to recover economy of the great state of Florida. Annalise?
I'd like to add that it's very important that our legislation consider the consumers when it's being written. And I propose that if we can stop this from being approved this year, that our grassroots groups should get together and make some suggestions for legislation for next year, so that we can have insurance reform, but it's reform that's helpful to the consumer and doesn't hurt the consumer. And I do also urge everyone to please act as quickly as you can to contact your legislators on this.
Thank you so much, ladies. I appreciate it. I think what we can really take away from this press conference, the most important thing that we can do moving forward, the reason why we put this association together, is we need to make sure that we get all the stakeholders together when we address these type of reforms. You can't just have the insurance industry come in, work with a few politicians and write an insurance bill. These insurance bills impact many industries across the state, and it's very important that moving forward that we have these stakeholders at the table making decisions and making sure that we're protecting consumers. Thank you so much.